Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Michelle with Vintage Revival Design Co., and I'm so excited to share today's project. We're going to be making some beautiful pieces with brand new products from Iron Orchid Design for my Thanksgiving table. I'm going to start by making molds out of resin. This is a two-part resin. It's quick set, and the most important thing to do is make sure that you pour equal parts of A and B. I have a little silicone cup that I mix in that has little measuring marks, and I find that to be really helpful. Once my resin is in the cup, I'm going to stir it really well. This resin gives me about a 2-minute working time, and so I need to pour my molds fairly quickly, but I don't feel too rushed about it. So I'm choosing some of the smaller elements because I feel that these will better fit around the edge of my charging plate. I'm choosing some of those beautiful acorns and the leaves. They are so detailed. I just love, love, love this mold. If you get a little spill over, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you how to fix that as we go along in the project. I also wanted to make a napkin ring, and so I'm using one of the trimmings molds to fill it with resin in just the long strip. Once your molds are white and cool to the touch, you can remove them from your mold. The trimmings mold is going to be flexible as soon as it comes out, as long as you don't leave it in too long. And so it's really important to do this step as soon as you pull that trimmings mold from the silicone. I'm going to wrap this around a spice jar, and then using an X-Acto knife, I'm just going to cut right where the edges would meet. I'm then going to just kind of put it in a circular shape and use a little mini clamp that I have. You could also use a bowl clip for this process. While I'm working on the rest of my project, I'm going to let that set up and trim away any spillover from my molds with an X-Acto knife. There were so many molds to paint that I wanted to do it as quickly as possible. And so I'm laying my molds on the back, the sticky part of the back of some painter's tape. And I'm just going to put those all out there. To paint them, I'm using 2 colors of Wise Owl Chalk Synthesis paint. I'm using the color Earth and the color Iron Oxide. I'm dipping a makeup sponge into those 2 colors of paint and then sponging it on to each of the molds. I do love this technique because it does allow me to push into the molds. I'm then going to apply that same finish in a stippling motion with those same colors all over my charging plate. Once that was done, I positioned my molds around my plate where I thought I would like them, and now I'm going to individually glue them on with Titebond Quick and Thick glue, making sure that I get all the way to the edges. You can clean up any glue that you might have with a little brush, and you can also use a little clamp to hold any that are being a little stubborn. Here I'm gluing the open edges of my napkin ring. I did the same paint finish on the napkin ring, the acorn, all of that. I'm going to clamp that and let that glue dry, and then once it's dry, I'm ready to apply my little acorn embellishment. I'm applying it right where those edges meet, so it's completely hidden, and I love the little added touch that that acorn gives to the napkin ring. I'll set that aside to dry. I felt at this point that my charger plate was looking a little too rusty. The rust was more prominent than the earth color paint. So I just went ahead and, not full coverage, but I went ahead with a stippling motion and just applied more of that earth color to my charger plate. I knew that I was going to be adding a metallic glaze, and so before I could do that, I needed to apply a top coat. I'm using a gloss sealer because I felt that it gives the sheen of a regular plate, like my dishes, and so I'm just going to apply a coat of this gloss sealer over the entire piece, making sure that I get into the details of the molds as well. If you glaze without sealing first, you can actually stain your paint instead of getting that beautiful glazed effect that you're going for. So this is an important step before glazing. I'll use a detail brush just to get in any areas and clean up any excess sealer before I apply my glaze. Once that's dry, I'm going to be using Wise Owl's Metallic Bronze Glaze. I just love this. It's a very subtle but beautiful color, and I think it really works well with this paint combination. I'm applying it to the molds first and using a small brush to do that, and then wiping back. This took a little time, but it was really worth it because I really was able to get into those details. Once the molds were done, then I went over and applied this glaze to the entire plate. I just love how it gives subtle sheen to the beautiful details in the mold. To create my napkin, I cut a square from a lightweight drop cloth, and then I mixed equal parts of bronze acrylic paint and Golden's GAC 900, which is a fabric medium that you can add to paint. I wanted to use this gorgeous Ephemeral Type stamp. I just love it. I think I gasped when they revealed it to us. And so I'm using a brayer to apply the paint to my stamp, and then I'm going to turn that over, and I'm going to start at just one edge right up at the top of the corner. To get really good even pressure, I'm just using another brayer and then lifting up, and I love the result of this. When you apply this medium in your paint and you apply it to your project, you want to let it dry for 24 hours, and then you want to heat set it on the back side of the fabric with a hot iron, no steam. You can also put this in the dryer for about 30 minutes, and that will heat set it as well. It's washable after about 4 to 5 days. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. I wouldn't do this project the night before Thanksgiving and then expect to be able to wash your napkins quickly after. So I'm just doing this in a random fashion, filling in any areas, but you can see I used the whole stamp set to do this, and I really love how this turned out. I hope you do as well. Let me know if you love this stamp as much as I do. You can, of course, sew your edges, but if you don't like to sew, you can also just fray the edges. I'm using a really fine tip stylus to pull threads and create a frayed effect over the entire napkin. But again, you could sew them or use a fabric glue to fold over your edges and give it more of a finished look. Now my table setting is complete. I think this looks beautiful with my brown transferware, and I can't wait to have this on my table at Thanksgiving. Let me know if you enjoyed this project, and if you did enjoy it at all, I would so appreciate it if you would like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.